which to me is very, very impressive. And he's going to speak to us about driving innovation through disruptive technology. Please welcome the Global CIO of Hatch, Maurice Tayeh.
Thank you, Dan. Look, guys, I'm the last speaker this morning and standing here between you and lunch. So I'll give you some food for thoughts. And as the audience is leaving, there's going to be fewer people, which is great. The ones who are interested here will hear from somebody who essentially has been approving cases. Instead of watching DIY and talking about ROIs, I'm one of the guys who approve business cases and actually make it work. So what do I look for? So I'll share with you a little bit of my experience. So before I get started, in order to frame these things, let me introduce my company. And the company is Hatch. Hatch is a professional services company. We specialize in engineering and construction in three main areas. One is mining and metals. And in this area, we work with large companies throughout the world. And essentially, as we say, we design mines, construct them, and then make them ready for operational for our clients. The second area is in energy. And here in energy, we work from nuclear power plants to fossil fuel to green energy. And then the third business area is related to infrastructure. Infrastructure being from roads, buildings, ports, airports, water dams, anything that's related to infrastructure. So how does this relate to the technology and the topics and so on? So as you can imagine, lots of things that we dabble with from a business point of view and from a technology point of view, the needs are great. So with that, let me talk a little bit about some of the three main areas that we are interested in. The first one, a lot of people talk about digital transformation. And for us, it is not just a talk. This is a practice that we have been working on for the past 6+ years. So I'll share with you a little bit of that. Cybersecurity is obviously left and right and center of every conversation, of every discussion that we have with our board, with our clients, with everybody. And then the third one is artificial intelligence. This is something that we have been working on for the past year and a half or so. So I'll share with you a little bit of some of our work and what we have been doing in this and how does AI intersect with XR technologies, digital twins, and so on. So in regard to digital transformation, let me share with you a video essentially to talk a little bit about this stuff, okay?
In today's rapidly changing world, speed is everything. And data is the driver. The way we work is constantly evolving. Disruptive technology is enabling better solutions through innovation, pushing the boundaries of what is possible. We're altering the way we build the future with the emergence of new industries and the transformation of existing ones. Our clients are embracing digital solutions to create new opportunities. At Hatch, we are pushing the boundaries. We are leading digital project delivery and information management with increased efficiency, productivity, and operational advantages. Our breakthrough approach brings your ideas to life in a way that reduces your bottom line by leveraging connected data, integrated tools, and advanced workflows. We keep timelines, costs, and resources on track so you can make informed decisions safely and minimize risk. Imagine walking through your project before it's even built. With Hatch, we make that a reality. Gone are the days of paper copies, errors, and rework. Conflict challenges, changes, and waiting for information are in the past. Our digital mindset and advanced tools make the impossible possible. From concept to completion, we're with you every step of the way, building sustainable digital assets that form the backbone of your operations' digital twin. Let us help you build a better, positive future, faster. Experience the digital evolution with Hatch. Hatch, challenging the status quo.
Okay, so we talk about emerging technology. So to me, technology is something that's going to always evolve. So what is today is new and emerging. It's tomorrow, yesterday's technology. So how do we keep up with all this stuff? And where do we go from here? So one of the things that's kind of interesting is when, the question is when should we pay attention to emerging technology? And especially as it relates to our business. One of the keynote speakers this morning, Daniel, said today, and I would absolutely say, this is the right answer. Why? One of the things that you've heard throughout this morning is shortage of skills, talent. And also at the same time, we keep generating tons and tons of data. So how are we going to be able to solve this small equation? You have shortage of people who understand what's going on in the business, and you can't hire them enough, and you have lots and lots of information that's being generated to be able to essentially do something with it. So for us, it's a major challenge, and the challenge is, what do we do it? One of the things that is also interesting is technology is becoming, the entry into this technology is today a lot easier. If we think about some of yesterday's technologies, like cloud computing, if you thought about cloud computing 10, 15 years ago, was you're in the cloud. Today, it's reality. Lots of companies are doing it, are using it. So how do we get into, some of this technology that's extremely important? You heard from the panels earlier, try this and do this, and this is the bottom, approach if you want. But there is also a top-down approach, and the top-down approach is related to what is your business, direction? What's your growth plan? How are you going to keep the company that has been around for a number of years? Our company's been around for 65 plus years. How are we going to keep it around? So keeping the business, growing the business is an extremely important element. So this is where technology comes in. One of the, I had an interesting slide, but I say everything that we do, it's a graphic slide that talks about every element of our business is today driven by technology. So it's an easy concept. Think about it. If tomorrow you can't access certain systems and so on and so forth, can you do your business? The answer is no. So how do we essentially keep this technology going, benefit from it, in order for us to grow the company? And that's the challenge that we have. So for me, the challenge was simple. Earlier, one of the panelists talked about the CAD and the definition of CAD. Well, we build large industrial plants. We build lots of structures. So CAD is something that it's part of our DNA. And we're not talking about small types of models. We're talking about extremely large models. So one of the early things that we had to deal with is I need to be able to take all this information that's coming from our designers and be able to essentially, use it in an environment that is ready for XR, VR types of applications. So one of the things that we did is we selected a technology from, in this case, Bentley Systems, iTwin technology. And in there, it allowed us essentially to take lots of these formats that are common in our environment and be able to use it. And with that, essentially, one of the things that we wanted to do is to build an environment where it is easy to review these models in a web environment. not necessarily a very sophisticated machine and so on. I want it in a very simple web browser. So we build one of the products called Asset XD. Asset XD is an environment that allows us to do that in any format. So if I'm working alone as a company, or if I'm working in a joint venture environment, so where I'm working with other partners, I'm taking information from my partners, I'm taking information from my subcontractors, from my vendors. I need to integrate all this information into a single place and then be able to show it to our clients, be able to review it, and so on. So in this particular case, so we talked about the creation of one application, Asset XD, but taking it further, we also built an application called Asset XR. As the name implies, it's related to virtual reality, augmented reality. The interesting thing about this stuff is it's not anymore about seeing the 3D model. Okay? To me, that's the easy part, is how do I connect all the information in that model to any piece of data that I can click on. So if you can imagine in a desktop, if you're reviewing a 3D model, you can click on a piece of equipment, you can see the data sheet, you can see the calculations, you can see information coming from your vendor and so on. We wanted to replicate the same thing with the Asset XR application. And that's really the added value, is today, I can take all this stuff and I can show it in that environment. So I'll also show a quick video of this.
Welcome to Asset XR, a cross-platform digital twin solution that enables immersive real-time collaborative design review within VR or PC. After login and authentication, you can select from a list of iTwin projects, iModels, and named versions that you've been granted access. Survey the iModel from above at bird's eye view, teleport, or fly through using the intuitive navigation controls. You can select objects and interrogate BIM properties at the element, assembly, and top assembly levels. Measure distance and location with various snap modes, and convert in an instant using the unit of measurement dropdown. Issue resolution allows for asynchronous flagging and task delegation. Describe any potential problems in the project and assign it to a teammate for review. Create snapshots, markup, text, and audio recordings to clearly capture the issue at hand. Work packaging, visualized within VR, can help fill the gap and better align engineering, procurement, and construction. Using display sets and data visualization, you can access color-coded groupings based on distinct values with the power to show, hide, and isolate by class or property. Using CDE search, you can access and view relevant documents for side-by-side reference. Accelerate your collaborative design review process with Asset XR.
So this is really what we were going after, okay? So not, again, to complement what the panel, previously said, there's a lot of trials, if you want, errors as well. But at the end of the day, what was extremely important is how do we put this technology into realistic environments. People use it every single day. Now, this is just a quick data sheet about the product itself and the kind of tools that we use and so on. But moving forward, it's really interesting to kind of say, okay, we've done the VR part. What else? And just recently, I was visiting our offices in South Africa, and I was really happy to see how our team there has taken this a little bit further. So in our industry, we work on brand new projects, okay? you're building a new mine and so on, but also at the same time you work on existing assets, existing mines or platforms, offshore platforms, whatever it is, to either expand it, to revamp it, and do something. And what was interesting to me is not necessarily only that we were using the technology for the new stuff, but they were using augmented reality to kind of show the client how we can take an existing plant and essentially demolish part of it, and how we're going to plug in this new area, and they're going to see it. And so the interesting stuff is really on two sides. On the engineering side, where we can obviously do this stuff in our design offices, but also at the same time, when we went to the construction site, to the actual site, and you can see how various people on the client side were using the AR technology to kind of visually see how this new facility, number one, is going to be taken down in certain areas, step by step. They visually see it. And also at the same time, how the new stuff is coming in step by step. That was extremely powerful, because now you can visually see how the demo is going to take place and how the construction of the new stuff is taking place. So having talked about this stuff, all I can tell you is, as a quick summary, XR technology is used really in every step of the way in our project execution, from the conceptual stage to the design stage to the maintenance and operation stage. So having talked about this stuff, let's talk a little bit about the next technology, which today, based on this morning panel, when asked about, give me one word about the new technology, I think 2 or 3 guys talked about AI, right? So how established technologies is going to interact with generative AI? So I'll give you my views in there. But first, I went and asked, in this case, Bing, the question: how will established technologies such as digital twins, IoT, XR play with Gen AI? So that was my prompt, if you want. And it gave me interesting answers. I read them. I'm not going to read them here for you. You can guys, see them. But it was really interesting with certain examples, and it was right on. So that was what Bing said. So this is Maurice talking here. So let's talk a little bit about some real cases, right? For some of you who are in this industry, you're faced a lot of times with an existing plant. Okay, so this is one of my business cases that I talk about. Existing plant that has been in place for the past 25, 30 plus years. Hardly any digital footprint. So there's no 3D model. Sometimes there is no drawings, paper drawings even. And yet you want to use new technology. You want to use XR technology in this stuff. How do you do that? Right? Can it be done, number one? The answer is absolutely yes. You got to stitch a bunch of things in place, but it can be done. So let's take a look at how such things can be done. So, there's existing technologies that's been around for a number of years. And essentially, you can take a plant and you can you can scan it. So you can, use lasergrammetry, photogrammetry, any kind of technology that essentially allow you to have, at the end, a point cloud. This point cloud is going to give you graphical information about this asset. Okay? It's going to give you the XY coordinates, it's going to give you certain things and so on. Now from here, the fun starts, right? Now you have this graphical information. You can do a bunch of stuff with it. You can start identifying pieces of equipment. So you can use AI techniques to identify certain types of equipments, whether you're talking about a pump or a valve or a pipe or whatever it is. Okay? So for us, it's talking about taking this information, into this new platform that we have built over the past several years. And so our first suggestion is to do that. We will take that information and we'll start processing this stuff. Now, some of the stuff that we have been working on is not only we do that, okay, I want to be able to take drawings, paper drawings. I want to be able to take calculations, data sheets, and so on. So what I'm just talking to you about here is some of the stuff some of it is working, some of it we are working on it. And if you think about, for example, this 3D model, this point cloud that you just generated, and you have on the other hand drawings mentioning these equipments, mentioning these information. Somehow, if you can, essentially correlate this information, both of them. So if we're talking about, let's call it pump 101, and I have in my data sheet all the information about pump 101, all of a sudden, what started as a dumb graphical information becomes an intelligent model, right? That intelligent model, if you connected, for example, to your desktop, you can obviously do a bunch of stuff in it, but also at the same time, you can use, XR technology in it. If you put, voice recognition and NLP technology in it, all of a sudden, what started as a dumb picture, now you can say, show me where pump 01 is, and it's going to give you. It's going to zoom in, take you to that pump 101, show me the data sheet, it's going to show you the data sheets, and so on. So what I'm just telling you here is this is where we are heading, okay? And not necessarily in the long future. I'm talking in the next 12 months or so. And that's the power of technology. So this is where Gen AI, if you want, is going to take us there. So people talk about Gen AI. Let's talk a little bit about this stuff and how it's going to shape our society and so on. So before doing that, if we talk a little bit about some of the major elements into it, people, obviously talked about, the ability to recognize, images, the ability to generate music, the ability to do coding, and so on and so forth. All this is extremely, interesting and important. The one thing that interests me, besides all of this stuff, is that design component. Okay, that's what for me is extremely interesting, because now all of a sudden, okay, it's no longer, for example, out of the realm of the imagination that in due time, for example, I can have a design completely generated by a machine, okay? So think about the scenario. I know I told you earlier we need to do this stuff now, but also you need to imagine things and where technology take you. All of us work in a company, all of us work on given projects. But also before a project becomes a project, there is a proposal. Somebody says, well, I have something that I want you to bid on or do. So let's follow the thought where I can take, for example, a proposal. I can analyze it through my Gen AI, which summarizes my 100-page proposal into a nice, neat 3-4 pages into high-level bullets, telling me what these are. I can draw on my years of experience in this area. I said we're a 65-year-old company, so the problem that I had before in storing the drawings, now it's my asset. It's my gold asset. So if I can, go back to my, gold mine of drawings and so on, and pick the pieces that apply to this proposal and be able to essentially say, well, here are some options. Option 1, 2, and 3, and so on. Okay? Is it feasible today? No. I'd be lying to you if I said yes. But would it be feasible in the next 12 to 18 months? Absolutely. We are working on it, and that's what my challenge over the next 12 to 18 months is going to be. So, one of the things that's also interesting about Gen AI is what is the, what I call the good, the bad, and the ugly use of Gen AI. So for us, one of the first things that we did, frankly, was to put some principles and guidelines for the use of Gen AI in the company. So some of the principles are, for example, machines are not going to replace humans. It's simple, but that's extremely important, So what you want to use this technology is you want to use this technology to supplement the decision-making process, to help you make better decisions, to help you make, an important decision. Also, at the same time, you don't want to open this information to anybody because, especially in public domain, you open the stuff up and it becomes extremely difficult to kind of safeguard, your own IP as well as your client IP. So we had to put certain things to kind of say what is permissible and what is not permissible. So that's extremely important. And the one thing I would say is, as a company who want to dabble in such technology, besides putting the principles in place, really figure out some of the fundamental things to you. So for us, these are some of the extremely important things. First of all, security. Cybersecurity is, extremely important. Confidentiality. Clients come to us because of that, and we need to be able to retain that information. Copyright, code of conduct, and legality. And this last one I'm not going to spend too much time on, except to say there's really not a whole lot of laws today covering generative AI. Okay? Not a lot of laws, within the country or even outside. How do countries interact with Gen AI? Okay? To my knowledge, and the last exercise that I did was probably about a month ago, only 3 countries have actually passed generative AI laws. And there are a bunch of countries, including the United States, Canada, European, EU, and so on, still in debates and so on. So this is an extremely important topic. So I'll leave you with this thought. Any kind of good use of technology, in this particular case, Gen AI, there is equally a bad case of usage. Okay? Don't think of only the good things. Think about the bad things and how do we essentially fight against it. If we think that such technology, whether it's, Gen AI, for example, is something that we can easily do, I think you're going to find out that's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of work because the backbone of such technology is the digital information that you have in your company. So if you have a very nice environment that's well connected, where the data is extremely well used and so on and so forth, then it makes it easier. It doesn't mean that you cannot do it. It makes it easier, simpler, and so on. So digital culture is extremely important. The panels today, this morning, talked about the adaptation of such technology. It's extremely important, not necessarily only to show it as a capability that you can do within the realm of technologies, but how do you actually adapt it in your business and do it and make it part of your business? And then I talked about create your principles and guidelines and so on and so forth. And obviously, once you do that, you should have a bunch of applications and things that you can do. So with that, this is my talk. If you're interested in reading about the subject, you can go to essentially to hatch.com, and you'll find one of the blogs that talks about innovative technology. This is a new blog that I just got published, I think just last week. So with that, happy to take any questions or not. Sure.
Yeah, I think we have time, maybe one quick question.
So at the end of your flow chart where it went into Asset XR and XD, is there a 3D meshed asset that's exportable to Unity or Blender at that stage? And if so, what file format?
There are, and happy to talk to you, afterwards. The file formats, we try to stay as much as possible within industry standards. So, we follow any kind of standards that you can publish, because our work doesn't really end with us. Our work goes to our clients and so on. So we have to have a generic or a standard supported. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Maurice.
All right.
Okay, we made it to lunch. Come back at 2. And the other good news is that the Arbor booth is right next to the eating hall, so come by and see us.